Hi, this is Brian Pash, and welcome to another exciting podcast session. On today's show, we have a new tech leader, one of our showcased vendors at the Digital Marketing Strategies Conference coming up April 27, 28, and 29 in beautiful Scottsdale, Arizona. The company is Toma, and Monik is the CEO. And he is here today to demystify AI, talk about what their platform is doing to elevate the use of AI in answering phone calls for sales, service, parts, recalls. We're going to talk about it all today. Monik, welcome to the show.
Hey, Brian, thanks for having me.
You know, dealers have heard about digital voice assistants or AI-powered communication solutions, and we're going to dive into your platform today, but let's just pause for a minute. Your background is very interesting. In fact, you've been working on AI since the early days. So before we talk about the birth of Toma and what you're doing for dealers, can you give us a little background on your research and scholarly work on AI?
Yeah, so in 2016, I did a lot of research work on conversational models, which is really what is powering everything that you see around today, right? With ChatGPT and all of these like video generators and image generators. It was really simple in let's say in 2015, 2016. It was like, here's one sentence and here, that's the input. And here's the output, which is another sentence. So, hey, look at this, memorize this and map it to that. And then when I give you a new sentence you've never seen before, let's generate something else. And it was so rudimentary. It was so basic at the time. And it couldn't even get grammar right. So let's say if I said, hey, how are you? The response was good, I am, right? And we've come a long way since then to today. But that was like a big focus of my work at the time. I think I was like 20 or 19 or something at the time anyway.
So years of research, building models, working with Google and other large investors in AI. When did the entrepreneurial light go on and say, hey, I think I want to start my own company?
Well, I mean, that started long back. When I was 13, I used to write like a tech blog and I used to make websites. So I had all of these random customers in different parts of the world. I made a social networking website for somebody, a health instructor in Central Park. And we made these websites for everybody, whoever, whatever sports they would play, they would come by and network with each other and find games to play. So I was always like selling stuff since I was like 13 or 14. But so it's always been there, really. And I think I met my co-founders, a few years ago. We kept experimenting. We kept working on different ideas. But we landed on AI voice like 2 years ago. And that was it. I mean, we were like, this is a really hard problem and it's everywhere around us. Like,
That's
what can we
right.
do? And yeah.
And so why automotive? The automotive vertical is very challenging. And also there have been some early companies bringing digital voice assistants, AI communication tools in automotive. What was the pivot when you and your partners started solving this problem to say, hey, this is perfect for automotive?
So our first customers were actually, we had a hospital that worked with us. We had some banks and we had a dealer at the time. And I think the big difference was the dealers cared, like in a way that the other industries didn't. They were slow, right? But for, I think the dealers were progressive in the sense that we had something that kind of worked and they were like, let's try it. Let's see what happens, right? And we
Right.
put it out there. And and I think the pain that the dealers felt was so acute, right? So it was like immediate, like, okay, great. My phone is ringing less, at least 50% less. That is amazing. That is
Right.
truly a big benefit. So I think it kind of like, And then I think they went at the 20 group meeting and they spoke about us. And then we had more customers and more customers. Like we didn't even hire a salesperson like up until now. Like, I
Listen, the best stories in automotive are like that. And when I think about when I first started my digital marketing agency, I went to lawyers and doctors and I was doing microsites. This is 2005 and trying to help with SEO and although the clients I had appreciated. The car dealer loved it. It was like, I want more leads. I want to show up in search. They were like super passionate. And I do know that the dealers listening to today's podcast have been struggling to fix their phone problems. Those inbound calls, especially for those simple repetitive tasks of booking service, checking on the status of their car, setting a test drive appointment, all of those things 24/7 is a little overwhelming, and dealers know they're not doing a great job at it. One of the challenges I've heard, Monik, is that the tools that are out there haven't been evolving fast enough, meaning dealers were awesome and excited, but some of them, it's like, yeah, I used to use this product, but I stopped using it. I'm like, why? It's like, well, there were some bugs and I made some suggestions. How is Toma going to be different in the marketplace so that a high-end dealer who's looking for a certain type of experience from their AI digital voice assistant, or an import dealer is looking for something in a bilingual community like Miami. How are you handling the AI learning models and platform performance improvements?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Like why and I think that's a sign of like things to come in the future as well, which is, previously you would buy software, you'd buy something like, I bought this coconut water, like that is it. It is what it is, and I drink it and I finish it. But that's not true with like great software, because great software is supposed to evolve, right?
Right.
uh, Not just based on the maker's opinions. Like, I think it should be different. That's great. I can change it. But what about like when I put it in the wild, when you put it in the store and your customers are reacting differently to it, and you need to learn from that. So I think the place where Toma differentiates itself from like all of the, I think, older generation solutions is that Toma can adapt to inputs. It can be trained to a specific store, to the nuances that you may have, of how you run your business, right? And it
Right.
to it, and it can become better and better. So unlike old generations, they're more rigid. They're not flexible. So that limits their ability in like how much they can help the customer. What are these unknown scenarios that it can take over, right? So I think Toma excels at that. You can teach it. Like that's the big difference. And it learns silently. Just, you have all the customers calling in. Oh, I wasn't able to figure it out. Let me transfer that call. And then it still is listening to what happens after the transfer. And then it's like, I see.
Ooh.
That's what I gotta do. And there you go.
So let's talk about this. I'm just going to make up a hypothetical. Um, Maybe the summer season is coming up here in Florida, and I tell my wife, "Hey, we should schedule to get a coolant flush, of the car." And she said, "Okay, I'll take care of it." She calls up the dealership and said, "Hey, my husband said I should schedule a flush for the vehicle for summer." How does how does Toma understand like flush? Is that flush the toilet? Is it flush what? Is you know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
think sometimes the examples that are given for digital voice assistants are like, "Hey, I'd like to make an oil change." What do we do when people are just people and the AI is trying to determine, what flush means for that, BMW X5?
Right. So I think a big part of human conversation is ambiguity. And a lot of it comes from like shared context, right? Like you expect somebody else to kind of know. You're calling a dealership, they're at the store, they're picking up. You should know what a flush is, right? But that's not true with all AI agents. But in our case, I mean, we feed it with all the data already, and we feed it with all the past conversations that you've ever had. And also, like our models are automotive specific. So, like, a Toyota, a Kia, how you pronounce it, like every single thing has been factored in. But let's say you started with like, hey, I want a flush, right? Next question is, what kind of flush? Do you want like a coolant? Do you want a brake fluid flush? Like, which one are you looking for? And the customer's like, I don't remember. So the next step is, hey, wait a second, let me pull up your record and see what you have over there, right? And then, oh, all right, I see. You haven't gotten a brake fluid flush in like, yeah, 5,000 miles, for example. Maybe that is what you're looking for. Is that what you want to do? And then the next question would be, just tell me a little bit more. Why do you think that's the case? Or, I think you kind of narrow down and work with the AI to figure out that answer and then go ahead and book it, right?
Right.
And if in cases where you don't know, hey, how about you come to the store? We'll check it out. It'll be one of the two. This is how much it costs. So you don't need to worry that much. Just come through and we'll take care of it.
Right. I love that. One of the things that um, I've been doing lately is doing some consulting with CDP projects and trying to bring data inputs in. And some of my smarter clients, thinking of one right now, is really fascinated with the potential of AI and really focused on how much can a dealer help accelerate the learning, right? Especially some dealers have a value added package or a certain concierge process. And what I'm hearing from my customers is how much can I personalize it? How much freedom do I have? How would you answer that for a dealer who says, man, I get what you got, but I really want it to be personalized to our group culture, the way we speak, the way we talk about our customers. Like, how much could they really impact how the AI is communicating with customers?
I'll tell you a funny story. What happened was we had added a new feature like maybe 7 months ago, which would generate an image for the AI agent, and then we made a mistake. We copied that into we had a section where you could configure the tone of the agent, and it said be a cowboy. It just said be a cowboy. And like, about an hour later, we get a call from the GM saying, hey, the AI is behaving like a cowboy. Because all it was saying is like howdy. And it like had a full and the customer did book an oil change. But the funny thing is like that's the degree to which you can change the tone, you can give instructions. Like if you wanted to be like a retro future artist, something like that, like it would act like that, it would sound like it would behave like that. Um so in short, you can change everything, like which means that maybe you have an oil change for free program, right? And you want
Right.
to recommend that. You have some coupons that you just sent out. You want to make sure you reference that. That's great. You can say it. But what about the booking portion, right? Because now you need a very specific opcode that you want to put in, right?
That's right.
Instead of the old ones, right? So you want to put the free oil changes for life opcode. So you can configure it end to end to do the whole thing.
What
Right.
about language? What about language barriers? I mentioned Miami, um, but I'm thinking of different areas. Our clients in Brooklyn, they'll have sections where there's a big Korean population or Chinese population. And down in Miami, you have a big Cuban and Spanish, influence. These different pockets. When someone calls in, are you assuming that if they're calling in the dealership, they're going to be able to understand an initial English prompt? How do you adapt to different voice language patterns?
Yeah. Great question again. As we work with like I think about in 20 states today. So we've experienced like a lot of these different situations. The short answer is the dealer knows exactly who is going to call, right? So I think we work with them as we work on the prompt. So some stores, for example, have opening prompts which say, we can help you in English or Spanish, and we just are upfront about it. Like in terms of technology, like AI can speak every single language better than any of us will ever do that, right?
Right,
The challenge is how do you convey it to the customer, and that is the piece that we work with you on, which is how do you want to greet the customer? And in our platform, you can change that. You can have five different greetings each time somebody calls. You can have five different voices each time some
right,
and make it just seem like more natural. So you could work on that and have them the ability to like let the customer know, okay, if you want to speak Spanish, I will help you. And then the customer speaks in Spanish and the call just works.
What about tying into like a CDP or a phone switch so you know the inbound number, the phone number, the people who calling to do a data dip and maybe say, oh, this is a customer who always speaks in Spanish, or this is one of our Korean brokers. Any built-in connectivity that an inbound call could do a data dip to, even personalize, like welcome back, like with Delta, it's like, welcome back, Brian Pash. Thank you for your diamond medallion status. What about that type of, first glance, making someone feel recognized when they're calling in?
So we work with a lot of schedulers, DMSs, and even CDPs as they expose that data through APIs to us. When you call in, if you're a returning customer, we already know your name. We know what car you have. We even know your win, your existing appointments. In many cases, the clients like we have everything, right? So the call usually begins with like, "Hey, Brian, thanks for calling. Are you calling to book an appointment?" And if you say yes, so is it for your Honda Civic 2012 or is it for your, Honda Accord 2025, right? And then that's how the conversation really flows. So we're able to pull information before, during, and even after the call, uh,
Right.
all the data sources. Um, Not just that, like if you've called us like 5 times, we have the call context of every single time you called before. So if you're calling like the fourth time or fifth time and you're like, look, man, I already tried getting in touch with someone, I haven't heard back. The next thing is you probably want to escalate this call, instead of like letting it run into the ring group. Like this time it needs to go to the service manager. You could have
Right.
escalation policies routed to the right person. So
Love it.
I think AI has more memory than any of us combined will ever will. The challenge is that can you use it to help your customer, and that's where we come in.
Great. So let's talk about use cases. When dealers see a demonstration of the platform, and dealers can go to toma.com, an amazing domain. Can't believe you got a four-letter domain. But what are the, say, top two use cases that dealers want to implement first?
So I would say like definitely like service appointments, right, is one big popular use case. And obviously the happy paths are easy to do. Yeah, I want to book an oil change. That's so simple. But like anytime you deviate from it, you ask a pricing question, you ask how long does something take, you ask anything beyond like the basic stuff just breaks down. And in reality, like about 60% of the conversations are like that, right? So we're
Right.
able.
They're not linear.
Yeah. And that's the nature of conversation, right? Like, because we like to talk, we like to give information, get information. But so that's service appointments. But there are more specific things like around recalls, right? Like when Honda or any of the OEMs go out and announce a recall, you're flooded with calls coming in like for the next week, right? And you cannot handle it. That's great business. You don't want to miss out. And maybe the part is on back order. Like, what are you going to do, right? You just lose that business? Well, no. We have a solution for that, which is we can capture all that business and then store it and then keep like a waiting list that your store can access, right? When the time is right, we let them know that we'll call you as soon as we have the part in stock, and here you have the list. So the moment you have the parts, you start calling them, and you could even use Toma to call them back and notify them, by the way.
Oh, yeah, that's where I wanted to ask. Where are you with outbound calling? I've seen some of what I'm going to call first gen digital voice assistants. They've been at our conferences. I have clients who are using them, and most of them have said, yeah, we're going to move. Our next step is to start doing outbound calling, like decline service, recall. They haven't been in, missed service. Where are you today in testing the ability maybe to receive a signal from a CDP? Hey, give this person a call, or just using normal service scheduler or recommended service schedule maintenance calendars to do outbound calling?
So we can do outbound calling today, and in fact, we do like very specific use cases. I think you have to strike a balance between being annoying and like actually providing value to the customer. Because I mean, if we were getting spam calls or any sort of like calls that we didn't sign up for, that would be pretty. frustrating. So it's like I think the balance is like how do we get consent in a way where customer, is going to get value from it, and then we execute that. So appointment reminders, missed appointments, or those specific use cases, and even recall reminders, right? When you call in and the part is not available. So those are like really valuable ones where we're able to do great. And we're live with them today. So plenty of our customers use that.
Yeah, I mean, if I was driving a car and had a recall, I might miss it in the mail, think it's junk mail and throw it out. I would have no problem receiving a phone call and say, hey, Mr. Pastor is calling you to let you know that your, car is under current recall and we have the part we're ready to schedule. Would you like to schedule? I mean, I think that would be a high value call.
Yep.
I probably wouldn't be doing say, hey, we want to buy your car or you want to trade in. I probably would do that with a real person. But maybe I'm just old school.
Funny that you say it because we're even able to pull information. So, for example, you booked an appointment, and let's say you're coming close to you book like maybe 40,000 miles or something like that, or whatever your warranty is expiring. You could have a trade-in valuation be given to you on the phone itself, which is like the AI would just be like, hey, just so you know, this is the range, that you'd be able to trade your car in. Like, I mean, if you're interested, we could help, right?
I
Um,
love that. I listen, I think every time you talk to a customer on something transactional or a reminder, adding some value would be fantastic. I mean, I think if you're saying, hey, it's a service reminder call, hey, just calling to remind you, I get them from my dentist or eye doctor, right? I get all those. But hey, by the way, when you come in, if you are thinking about upgrading your car, we have great selection in stock right now. And your car's worth, between 45 and $50,000. I think I would consider that a value add. What do you think?
I mean, so that's just a starting point, right? It's very contextual. It depends, right, where you are in your journey. I mean, if you have a really massive repair that you're paying for, then those words would be music to your ears, right? Like, hey, I could just,
Right.
right? Or maybe, I mean, obviously it's annoying if like you just bought the car, like why would you want to trade that in, right? I think
Listen, it's funny you should say that. I recently bought a car from a friend who's the owner, and I got an offer, which was an OEM program. I mean, I just bought the car, and 30 days later, it's like, look, we want to buy your car. And
that
I sent it to him, and he got so mad. And he called up the company, which we won't name. And he was like, "Is this your crap you're sending out? This is a brand new customer, you know." So right, it's the context that is super important. What other use cases can your platform be used for? What's something you're kind of like, "Hey, I would love more dealers to lean in this area because you're excited about it."
So I think the newest use case and the one that dealers are most excited about is off hours lead calling for sales. That is interesting because hey, you have somebody having a drink at 9 p.m. talking to their wife, and they look at this amazing truck, and the next thing is like, all right, let me get that. They fill a web form, and obviously the night goes by, morning, they're back to work. They're not gonna pick up your call. But like if you were using Toma, what you could do is you could trigger a call like 2 minutes in as soon as they, book,
Yeah,
submit an inquiry. And the next thing is you're talking to them, giving them information, and you book them in already to come in tomorrow or,
I
whatever.
love that.
So it's like it goes back to what you were saying before, which is like the right message at the right time really changes everything, right? And that's something that we're good at. We can take in these signals from you and make the calls and make the, transactions that you wanted to make without waiting.
That's right. Because if you think of most dealer websites, let's look at it tactically now. Somebody goes, they still dealers have, get price or get today's price. And so the person, it's 9 o'clock, they fill out the form. Um, right. Someone's not going to get back to them until the next morning, typically. So, now 10, 12 hours passes by. But what they really had is some specific questions like, hey, what's the price of the vehicle? Is it in stock? And if I got an automated call that said, "Hey, see, you have an interest in this 2025, Ford F-150," um, is there any questions I can answer for you? Like, hey, is it in stock? Yeah, according to our inventory, it is in stock, just as it's described on the website. Well, how much is the car? And this is the tricky part. I think consumers want some transparency. Okay, the car's current sale price is this, but you may qualify for loyalty discounts or rebates or incentives, which we can discuss with you when you come into the dealership. Would you like to book a time to come and see the car? Like if that's happening at 9:10 after they filled out that form, there's a chance. And of course, this is where I love testing. Even if you got 10% of those people to book an appointment,
Yep.
right? Dealers are chasing people all day long to get them on the phone. If you can call them when they've just submitted a lead, right? It's fantastic. So I love that idea of testing that technology. Monique, we have a conference coming up.
Yep.
You and your team are going to be in Scottsdale talking to dealers. When they come up and see you, are you going to allow them to call in and kind of kick the tires and put it to the test? I'm interested to see how you like to demonstrate your technology platform to dealers who have interest.
So we believe in show don't tell. If you go to our website right now, Toma.com, like every AI agent is up there. You could like click on it and talk to it in your browser. You want to call it, there's a phone number, you can call it. But at the conference, at least when you come to us, we'll have some fun challenges for you. For example, we have some of these AI agents where you have to convince it to give you a loan a car. Like you will have to really, really try hard to give you a loan a car. Those are just some fun ways in which you can understand like the AI's ability, like how much we can customize it, first of all, and how natural and fluent that is. And also, we like to talk about cases where AI goes wrong. Because I think everybody talks about, hey, these are the, cut and dry, like book an oil change, do this, just book me an appointment. That's great. But what happens when things go wrong? And I think for us, we're pretty upfront and showing you like all the cases where it can and how we mitigate those scenarios,
I
right?
love that. I love that because, there's a lot of confusion. There's some fear.
Yep.
Um, they don't want the AI to go rogue or say things that could get them into trouble with compliance or local, state, or federal laws. So I love that. Yeah. So I'm going to encourage dealers who are coming out to DMSC, come by the Toma booth, put their tech to the test, but more importantly, talk to them about your fears, anything that's holding you back for testing or a more fully committed investment in using AI in the dealership. I think what's so nice about your experience is you've been doing this for a long time. You were there building early models when it was so rudimentary. And now today, I mean, I get a kick out of the image generation. I just generated an image for an article I published today. And I just went to Grok and said, hey, give me this image. And I just like, wow, that saves so much time of me trying to look through a clip art library or try to force an image. I mean, the time savings is amazing.
If I may ask you, how many times did you have to try to get that image right?
Took me about 6 times.
Okay. So, and I think just to give you a glimpse of the future, what will happen is that it would have taken you 20 times last year, 6 times now, and it's going to take one time in like a year. And that's really the progression of AI.
Love that. Love that. Well, I am so excited for you and Chris Vasquez to come down to Scottsdale to be at the show. You're in our showcase of our new vendor partners strategically coming out to DMSC to meet with dealers and dealer groups. You mentioned it's toma.com. If they wanted to send you, Monique, a email, what's the best email? Because sometimes the top brass at dealer groups want to talk to the boss, not a salesperson. How do they get in touch with you?
So it's just my first name, Monik at Toma.com.
Wow. You're making it way too simple. Hey, I want to thank you for giving your time today to talk about your platform, get dealers excited. For the dealers who are listening in or watching today, if you're not going to DMSC, what are you waiting for? Go over to toma.com, get a demo, see what can be possible at your dealership, especially with the advice that Monik is giving to ask them the tough questions. Let them show you how they can customize and you can customize the prompting and responses and workflows within the AI engine. It's an exciting time to be in automotive retail. And if this is the first time you're listening to one of my podcasts, you should know I have hundreds of interviews with automotive leaders, entrepreneurs, and breakout companies that are working to improve modern retailing. So listen to the entire series as we lead up to DMSC or past ones, because man, there's a lot of great conversations. Monik, have you been to Scottsdale before?
I have not.
Okay, get ready for beautiful weather and an amazing resort. So we can't wait to welcome you and your team. So for the dealers listening in today, thanks for your time. Come on out to Scottsdale, learn with us so we can elevate the customer experience and to run our dealerships more profitably to help you sell more cars and service in a digital age. Thanks for listening in.